Well, I wish you well for now, but if you ask me the problems we are going through as teachers, I'll start with pensions. Pensions. My brother, a teacher works for 38 years, 35 years, and he retires. And then he's paid a paltry sum of past credit, 3,200. Somebody who has worked for 38 years, 38 good years, and the person is paid 3,200 Kofieko money. You think this is right? Our retirees are dying. They are suffering, and nothing is being done as we speak. Teachers are owed arrears of remuneration since 2012. The NDC government was there. Nothing was done about it. This present government has inherited it. I hear they are paying that of 2016. How about from 2012 to 2016? Workers, we are not happy.
All right, thank you very much. And so he speaks for teachers, and he gives us an indication that teachers would wish that beyond their welfare today, as active persons working to help shape the future of our children, when they retire, they must retire with smile, and not to retire as paupers or to retire as people who are stressed out, traumatized, live in pain, and perhaps die with sadness. That's the summary of what I get from him. While I'm going around, I also want us to remind ourselves that the core issues you have at heart will be brought to bear when the former president, NDC's 2020 presidential candidate, joins us. And so those ones, you can shelve them for yourselves, because that's not what I am trying to elicit. What I'm trying to elicit from anybody I can walk to, if perhaps I catch your eye and I feel I must move to you, is to begin a conversation which has been ongoing, perhaps left to our close circuits. What we should be looking at as a people to help build a strong labor force. That is what I want us to do as we wait for the arrival of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. I'm told he's setting off, and I'm sure very soon he will join us. And so I wanted to talk to him first. We have a large chunk of Ghanaians who are not in the formal sector. Many governments over the years have tried to see how we can bring them on board. Governments over the years have suggested that, if we give them tax rebates, perhaps it will make it attractive for some of them to see the need to honor obligations, to increase what government expects to improve the country at large. Some have said, why should a small labor force, especially those in the public sector, consume almost 50 to 60% of the money that Ghana generates? The rest are used to pay debts and perhaps for development. It's not fair to as many other Ghanaians who may not be lucky enough to work in the public or the civil service sector, yet they enjoy all the freebies because they are privileged to have work to do. What can we do to empower the other side? Are there conversations on the table? There are several things that we can talk to as people. I don't know what is on your mind, but this is Wizard TV, this is TVXYZ. Wizard TV is on Facebook and YouTube. Power FM is carrying this conversation live. Volta, 1FM, GH1 Television, Ahoto FM are also joining us broadcast this live. So let me come to him. Government Staff Association Ghana is a civil and local government staff association of Ghana. CLOCSAG, very powerful institution. So Ghanaians are listening. It's an open conversation. What, in your opinion, do you think Ghanaians must look at? Policymakers, members of parliament, government today, government to come tomorrow, must also consider as part of the public discourse?
Yeah, thank you, Isaac. Bampo Ado, speaking for the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, Ghana, CLOSAC. As you are aware, as civil servants, we support the government of the day. Any government that comes, we work with that government. And I want to quote a seasoned civil servant that has worked with governments since independence to the time of its demise, both constitutional governments and military governments. And that's Comrade Nathan Kwao. According to him, it is the perfection of the civil servant and public servant that will move this country forward. And what we want to say is that politicians should know their role, and they should also know the role of civil and public servants.
Thank you very much. Obia Ondi Nilenu. Let me go around. I've seen a gentleman in very nice shirt. I don't know, maybe one day when it gets lost, you must come to me and I will find it for you. It comes to mind severally that sometimes unionization becomes difficult because managers of institutions fear that when workers are able to unionize, they become difficult to manage. And that serves as a threat to running the business rather than a complementary effort towards helping to shape decisions and policies that can drive the growth of the businesses, be it government or private, but most especially we hear this in the private sector. For you, as somebody who has been a trade unionist over the years, what do you think are some of the encouraging words you want to share, both with staff and with management or the employers association and so on, that we should look at because we are thinking Ghana and not partisan personal interests?
Thank you, brother interviewer. My name is Christian Vanderpoel, Vice President of Ghana Federation of Labor. I also unionize workers in agriculture, education, and general services. I want the right of workers, and government must take it for example that setting the minimum wage is not the end. And I wish that if things done well, we have to amend part of the labor laws, which I see that it is in the offering, and properly the right of workers might be accepted by other multinational or governments. Unions are there to work hand in hand with companies. That is why we call ourselves social partners. But here is the case, unions will play their role, but sometimes management or government will not play their role. So I expect that what programs the government of the day must be put into practice. Not that after you assume power, then you change whatever you ask the worker. So for now, when I read NDC manifesto, especially to let the employment workers to be employed, I'm very happy.
Okay, just to make this quick intervention, I've said that, and this just to make sure we whip ourselves to line. I've said from the beginning that we don't want to go into what John Mahama may want to discuss with you, because a lot of people may have issues to discuss when he and his representatives who are ready to listen to you to respond to. And so if I don't draw attention to this or remind us, maybe your commentary may trigger several other reactions that will water down the essence of the event here. And so while you have seen something there that is good to reference, I think I want us to just limit ourselves to outstanding issues that border labor, that border Ghanaians, so that it will just fill the gap and tease those who are watching us, so that when he comes, we can then set the stage for this event, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as I said, right of worker must be continued. Yeah, because the right of workers, ILO Convention 98 and 87 talk of it. There must be a freedom of association, but it might be stretching so that nobody should deviate from that line.
Thank you very much. I remember several years ago, the issue about productivity came up. There's a school of thought that people in the private sector appear to be a bit more efficient than those in the public sector. Some have said that the public sector is overflogged with staff, and therefore some sit and have nothing to do. Others say it is not properly structured, and therefore monitoring and enforcing how the job roles should be implemented is the difficult aspect of how this canker can be addressed. I remember when I was on campus then as a student, Dr. Papa Kwesindom was a minister in charge of one of the sectors of the economy, and then I heard for the first time they were going to introduce the clogging system. I later left campus, worked for a private sector, and anytime we go to work, you clog in and then you clog out at the close of day. But I lived with people in the private sector who come to clog in and leave to go and do their private business. We called it galamsey at that time. So if they were a cameraman like this man, he clocks in and goes to do some private job and comes back and clocks out. And so I'll throw it out there, I'll come around. For us as a people who agree that productivity is key to ensuring efficiency, how should the thinking go? Whether we are in the education sector or the health sector or the manufacturing sector, whichever sector, how should we be seen to be helping any government of the day, any management of any systems that we have put in place to ensure that we can guarantee ourselves that in as much as we agree that the salaries paid us are still very small, at least it is worthy walking home that you have been very productive after a day's work. There's a lady here I want to speak to first. I've seen Mr. Abraham Kumsin. I hear him a lot on radio. So, madam, I'll come to you. Let me go to Mr. Kumsin first. Mr. Kumsin, productivity is an issue. I asked an earlier question about unionization, how workers can be encouraged to unionize freely, and they also make sure management is not seen, it's not going to see them as a threat. For you, two areas, choose one and share your thoughts as an advice to the people of Ghana, members of parliament, people in government who are watching us, because this platform is huge because of the personality TVXYZ, Wizard TV is following. People all over the world listen to him and follow him. And of course, whatever you say carries weight, and many people, either with him or outside him, will take the advice from you, Mr. Kumsin.
I think productivity, see, if we don't have structures in place at the workplaces and even in government, you must set targets for your staff. If you don't have it, then you are not doing any good management. Because people, like you said earlier, people will come and clock in and go home to, or go out to go and do their own business. If there is a monitoring machinery, this cannot be like you said. There should be monitoring, there should be supervisors who make sure that people come to clock in and stay in till it is time for them to clock out. But if there is no monitoring system there, then people can do their own thing. And that is what I will see. Because for workers, if they are not being paid well, they will find a means to survive. You see, so I clock in and go out to go and do my own thing, and even come back and clock out. Yes, if you don't have a good monitoring system, you have supervisors, you have foremen, you have, these people who make sure that work. Because if I've been given a target, for the industries, manufacturing industries, it is easy to enforce this kind of arrangement. But the public service, I don't know. And also, if you're a teacher, you cannot leave your students or your pupils and go and do anything. But there are some areas in the public service that you meet all the time, you meet them in town doing their own thing, and later they go back. So it depends upon the system the monitoring systems that are put in place. I remember, like you said, Dr. Kwesindum introduced something, that machine that were fixed in all the public service workplaces. You go, you clock in, and I don't know how long that system worked, but now we don't have such things. So everybody is doing his own thing. The employers are cheating the employees, and the employees will find a way of also cheating the employers. So that is what is making the economy to fail.
So Mr. Abraham Kumsen is with the Federation of Labor. I don't know whether he's retired now. When I knew him, I was a small boy, and today I appear as I'm older than him. Madam, I wanted to come to you. There are several things on the table for discussion. I don't know what you want to share with us, those watching you on TV.
Before I speak, let me introduce myself. I'm Haji Ada Mata Suleimana, a midwife, and I'm the National Vice President, Ghana Registered Midwives Association, the oldest professional association in Ghana. In fact, just like we are saying, when you look at the way we work, some of us, our profession does not allow us to even leave the service and go out to do something. So at the end of the day, you see that you are rather being cheated by the government or whoever is your employee. Because let's say that I'm a midwife on the ward and I'm monitoring a labor case. Do I leave the client and go and stand somewhere? Because I have to monitor the contractions and everything, monitor the urine output and make sure maybe there's anything happening, there's any deviation of BP and fetal heart is not well monitored. The woman must lose the baby, or she herself might even get into another situation. So at the end of the day, you see that we midwives or health workers are being cheated at the end of the day. And my brother talked about the salary issue. We are being cheated for most because, just like the teacher said, nurses and midwives and teachers are suffering. You go you serve for 37 years, active service, and at the end of the day, what you take home pay something small. So before you realize, you die within 1 year or 2 years after you've retired, because you don't retire home happily. And you see yourself going to do part-time of some at your age, and the young ones will be what? Mocking at you. Abebio. Or they say, of a higher drink. Meanwhile, because you haven't gone home with better salary or something good, that is why you've gone back to work to go and do something for your enemies. So all these things, the government of the day should have to look at it, because some of us have a very good experience and we need to mentor the young ones. But because we are not putting things together and we are not realizing the experiences and this and other people have, so we should put all these things in place and make sure that we can get the experiences and then mentor it to others, especially our young ones, because life is everything.
Thank you very much. There's one issue that we must always look at and discuss passionately. It's about how we promote our local industries. Many times we hear, let's sustain our interest in made in Ghana goods. There was a time a former head of state, who is now dead, who was known to be wearing the smock He was identified as a personality who tried to put on smock over long-sleeved shirts. And gradually, people showed interest in the wearing of smocks, which is now a hot cake, from my understanding. There was a time we saw the likes of Alan Tremantin, and the former president I made mention of is Jerry John Rawlings, now the late. I remember Alan Tremantin, I remember Dr. Pa Kwesi Ndum, and I remember several other prominent Ghanaians, because these are people who were public officers who were known to be very consistently wearing something if it comes to clothes and the local textile industry. I've heard conversation about let's eat rice, let's grow what we eat, and let's promote it. I've heard conversations about footwear and several other aspects of our local industrial sector. But one issue is, as a people, we ourselves, over the years, have not shown interest in patronizing what we produce ourselves, because these are produced by workers, whether in the public sector or the private sector. If you read about the Japanese Revolution, or you follow the Chinese, or you follow the South Koreans, and so on, after the World War and they saw the need to promote themselves, you realize that it was buying products, the feedback, the customer satisfaction strategies that were adopted that eventually led to the improvement of the qualities we see on the market today. Now the question is, if I don't show interest in the locally manufactured products, and you don't show interest, and the government of the day is finding it difficult all the time to whip us in spite of all the promises they make over the years, like we'll let the military, we'll let the school children, we'll let so and so show interest. How can we guarantee the safety nets for the private sector so that if government cannot employ all of us, and the private sector, which we say is the engine of growth, is driving the workforce by including those it can bring on board, how can we ensure the sustainability of the private sector, which is also very important? They may not be represented here generally, but when we talk about unionization and we talk about labor force, I believe the interest is large beyond our core interest, but we are looking at the millions out there who are unemployed, who add to the bane of this country, and how we can also guarantee that they are brought on board and Ghana will have less stress, devoid of whoever is governing this country. And so I'll try to go back there and get some voices. I made mention of smoke, so let me go to the Ghanaian white man on my left side and see what he has to share with us on this aspect of the conversation while we wait. I'm told very soon he will arrive. I was talking about how can we engender interest in patronizing our own products so that we can guarantee that the private sector has some hope. Because government today is talking about industrialization. The manifestos of the two major political parties are talking about driving that. And all of us agree that the private sector, industry, manufacturing, production is key. I don't know what you have on mind, sir.
Well, before I answer your question, you talked about productivity earlier.
First of all, identify yourself, sir.
My name is Peter Kelu Moteu. You talk about productivity. I think that we're given the time for this program to start at 8:30. I look at my time, it is 12, almost 12. So others who have something to do have to walk out. I think that it is not fair. That's my first point to make. As for the question of wearing made in Ghana goods, it's government policy, both NDC, MPP, whatever. If government is serious and put in place policies to promote made in Ghana goods, eat what we produce, and so on, I believe that we will all follow. But if governments come and it's just mere saying, we will not achieve what we want. So governments, both MPPO, NDCO, CPP, which can perform a miracle 7th, how do you call it, December, it depends on the government that must lead and we will follow. And like you said, may so rest in peace, the former president, when he was wearing smock and what have you and so on. Some of us, or Ghanaians, made fun of his dress style. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tewu. And let me also, on behalf of the organizers of this program, apologize for the inconvenience. I don't have much to explain in addition to what has been said, but I know that he retired just after 4 a.m. This morning, and I was told that he had a very important meeting, somebody to address, to engage before setting off this place. I've been told that he's on the way, and so for those of us who have had the patience to wait, I can only plead that we've already wasted the precious time we would have used for something else, but out of respect, let's have a little more patience. He will join us, and I believe that the protocols will follow. And thank you, Tewu, for sharing that concern. I was talking about productivity. We'll be going for a short break for us to listen to some musical interlude before I come in again to welcome the former president as his entourage arrives. But I'll take 2 more contributions on how we can all support this cry that let's support or patronize made in Ghana goods. Because if we don't do it, no magician can actually grow the private sector. And the growth of the private sector will also guarantee the comfort for the public sector, those of us in the public sector. If government will always struggle to raise revenue, to develop the country, and so they have to go for loans, or they have to squeeze what they generate internally to look at the roads that must be developed across the country. I have been to almost every part of this country because of the privilege we have had as the media following the former president, NDC's 2020 candidate. And I can tell you, with authority that if you go to some parts of this country and you look at the deprivation, and you look at how these same equal Ghanaians who have rights as us don't have the basic things. Telecommunications, you have no MTN, no Vodafone, no Airtel, nothing. No radio stations are operating in those parts of this country. You don't have very good roads. You don't have water flowing through their taps. And these are people who are farmers, who could be cocoa farmers or rice farmers, cashew farmers, etc. You ask yourself, should government stop developing Accra? Should government stop developing Kumasi? Should government stop developing Cape Coast, Takrady, name them, all the major towns who have had a little of their fair share of the cake, and spend the little resource to open up those other areas because they are equally Ghanaians? I ask myself when I follow his convoy that, should this be the case? And is it going to be fair for those of us who have everything in Accra, everything in Kumasi, everything in Tamale, yet we are asking for more, that come and asphalt my road, come and build a drainage. The cars on the roads, we don't want them, we want the comfort. So you can now select that I don't want this car because the registration plate is T or X or 2017. And you are not thinking of somebody who don't even have a vehicle, and therefore they have to depend on, let's say, Okada or Prajia or whatever as the only means of transport. These are issues, but I believe that if any government can squeeze more to pay any worker tomorrow, better than it is today perhaps, because I don't know the public purse and how big it is. I believe that if the private sector is growing well and government can raise revenue and governments can grow, as we know is happening in the Western countries, then we can guarantee that those of us in the public sector may have better job security compared to what our predecessors or what ourselves are experiencing today, i.e. the cry of TEWU or the cry of the Ghana registered nurses or the cry of the GNAT as we heard. But I am talking about made in Ghana goods. And so I just want to pick two more voices. We'll go for a musical interlude. And when I return, I believe that I'll be announcing the arrival of the former president. So I'll be picking two more ladies, but there's a gentleman here I've been eyeing, and I want to catch him, speak to us. We are looking at how can we at least help the private sector, especially those in manufacturing, in industry, etc., to grow by our own decision as a people of what can be done to whip them to show interest in what we produce.
Yes. One key thing that we have to look at is policies that have to be formulated by government. Private sector is the engine, as we said. If you don't create the congenial atmosphere and also to support this same private sector, you can't talk about growth. And therefore, that area has to be looked out for, and also to encourage them to produce. It is about policies. If the right policies are in place, the private sector will grow.
Thank you very much. Let me pick the lady behind him. Well, Fantini Bakade, Enua or the Shermano, say, Oyamama Mianka Watium. I think she's just telling me that I can talk to somebody else. I want to talk to a lady, and then we go for a musical interlude. There's a Hajia sitting by me on my left side. So I'll just walk to her. Madam, made in Ghana, we talk about this all the time. Sometimes some people will say, politicians will say, let's buy made in Ghana goods, but they won't go and buy textiles from Abraham Kumson's place. Mr. Kumson, what's the name of your place? Printex, ATL, GTP, and so on. They go and buy Ntuma from I remember when I was young, my mother would say Dumas. And so, should any government be seen to be rigid in enforcing our wish to help the private sector by patronizing what we have? Or it will be difficult because of market forces?
Okay, sorry. Thank you. My name is Aisha Opong, and I'm a member of Ghana Registered Midwife Association. Just as how you said it, when you have something within and you want to enforce it, at times you have to step on toes before you achieve that. That doesn't make you a cruel person. But once you want to achieve something and you know the benefit of it, and at the end of the day, what you derive from it, I think it's very good to move on with that. And then with the made in Ghana products, ourselves, we don't patronize it. And if someone comes out and make its brand so unique, you see other people will not go and ask for how he went through it, doing it, but he also patronize, do another thing that will even bring competition in terms of made in Ghana, the same thing. So I'm of option that when you want to achieve something and you know the goodness of it, it is very important to do it.
Thank you very much. So this is how we'll bring this conversation to an end. The objective was to provoke our thoughts so that even as we come to meet the former president with our own issues and perhaps commit him to make pledges, because if I were one of you, this will be some of the things that will come to mind, especially with reference to what is in the manifesto and the assurances or the clarities that all of us will try to seek. I'm also sure that there are several things on the table we have not chewed yet, but I'm just wondering how that is done. And if tomorrow it can be done devoid of political, parochial interests. We'll be going for a brief musical interlude. When we come back, as I've said, I'll be announcing the arrival, or the moderator of the program, Fritz Bafo, will be announcing the arrival of the former president. Again, on behalf of the organizers, I have not sought their permission, I want to say sincere apologies to all of us who came here long before 9 o'clock because the engagement was supposed to start there about the time. What I know is that yesterday, for example, the former president, who is wrapping up his campaign tour of Greater Accra, because tomorrow there will be no campaign, retired after 4 a.m. yesterday, and I can imagine when he slept. And even when I was coming here, I had a little doubt whether he can make it by 9 o'clock. But we are told that he had a little unexpected, very, very, very important, equally important vista he had to immediately address and join us. He's on his way, and again, let's have some little more patience. He will join us. Let's speak our minds, and let's help build Mata Ghana. Thank you very much. Continue watching GH1 TV. Continue or leave your dial on TVXYZ, Wizard TV on Facebook and YouTube, Power FM, and the other media houses, Volta 1 FM, GH1, Ahoto FM, and shortly the program will begin. My name is Eric Ahianyo. Thank you very much.
Mahama.
Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm told the former president has just arrived, and very shortly he'll be entering this facility, and I'll hand over the microphone to Mr. Fritz Bafo, the former Minister for Information, former Member of Parliament. He started well. He has demonstrated his appreciation of labor issues, and I'm sure that as the former president arrives and he takes over the microphone, the program will run smoothly, and we will make some good use of the time we would have with him. And so when I see his security detail entering the facility, I will officially announce his arrival, and we welcome him, and then I hand over the microphone to Mr. Bafo. Music, please.
2.